Vegas Tbull. Today we got a game in the T61 and we're checking out Erich Bey, the changes to him. Destroyer detectability goes down by 1%. We'll discuss that. And the more interesting of the two, the new perk Torpedo Royal. Which you can see there adds a little bit of speed, adds a fair amount of damage, and adds to the detection. There's the ship, quality, tier 5 premium destroyer, one of the more powerful sonars at the tier. We'll dive into the game as we go on. But first, we're going to talk about the two changes to the Erich Bey build, what it means functionally. First up, a lot of destroyers are kind of disappointed. Well, now I'm more detectable. You're more detectable by probably 0.1 kilometers, maybe 0.1.5, maybe 2 at the most. But keep in mind, so is all the other destroyers, right? If you're going to really lean into a concealment build, and here on this Bay guy, I actually have a double concealment. We got Swirsky on there as well. I haven't updated this build in years. Probably we could use a makeover. However, we're really talking about spotting the enemy destroyer by maybe another, half a second or whatever. Gets you in a position where you can shoot first, secure a damage going, or advantage in terms of damage going into the fight. So not bad, but it's not super game changing in my opinion. Basically, the destroyers are going to be a little bit further away from the midline when they begin to be spotted, which will presumably have them a little bit closer to their support ships, but the enemy destroyers will be a little bit further away from their support ships. So how that will actually change the game, I don't think it'll be noticeable personally, but it's just a minor tweak. All right, so I'm not worried about that. The slot 4 perk, Torpedo Royal, or Torpedo Royales, we'll undoubtedly call it whenever we mention the name, is a more interesting perk. Now, there's a few considerations with this. Number one, the perk I use currently is the left-hand one, and it enhances the smoke dispersion. All right, so the difference between using the smoke enhancement perk and this one, it puts you back at your base 61-second duration of your smoke consumable, which is on the lower side. In fact, German smokes are among the worst in the game, if not the worst in the game. So I like to use that smoke enhancement perk traditionally on slot 4 to make a weakness a little bit less weak. However, we're talking about roughly a 5-second difference in the smoke. Again, we're taking a bad smoke, making it somewhat more manageable, but still not great. However, the more interesting aspect of putting the perk on is the torpedo performance. Now, there's two areas that we'd want to look at the torpedo performance. First, the raw damage. With the perk, you do get your, at max, which mine actually is, I got a max Bay, 6%. A more manageable, maybe a level 14 commander, legendary 2 or something like that, you only get 2 boosts to this. We're talking about a 4% damage boost, which isn't bad. And in that case, it would be a 1 knot torpedo speed. Here, maxed, it's actually 2. All right, so the damage, when maxed, we're talking about 700 damage. Max damage when it comes to the torpedoes. And when we run the damage per minute calculations, we actually find that we're talking about 7 or 8,000 more damage per minute, potential damage, of course, when we're talking about DPM. So not bad, but not huge. I mean, an 8% potential damage per minute boost to the torpedoes is significant, certainly. However, we do need to factor in the second factor, which is reaction time. Now, this is a formula that's not in the game. We've covered how to do it in the past. The video is several years old. Basically, you can multiply 2.6 times the speed of the torpedoes, and then what you want to do is take that number and divide the detection by that, and you convert the detection into 1,000. So if it's 1 kilometer, you take 1,000 divided by whatever the 2.6 times the speed of the torpedoes is, then you'll have your reaction. So without the perk, with my normal smoke build that we traditionally used, the detection, how many seconds these torpedoes are going to be on the enemy screen before they actually reach the ship, 7.25. All right, that's without the perk. Now, if we use this perk, we're adding to the speed by 2 knots potentially, and adding to the detection by 100 meters potentially. So it's balanced, and in fact, with the perk, it actually adds a little bit to the reaction time, 7.59 compared to 7.25, which is effectively a quarter of a second, maybe a third of a second. Functionally, not that much of a difference. You know, if it's a very close call, the guy's trying to dodge, maybe that sliver of a second is going to make a difference between a hit and a non-hit. But usually we're not going to see any difference. So knowing that, essentially the torpedoes are more or less as difficult to dodge for the opponent in either configuration, I would prefer the more speed and the more damage. So having run these numbers here, I've come to the conclusion that I'm actually going to use this new slot 4 perk. Again, we're weakening the already weak smoke. That's the drawback, but we are improving. Again, torpedoes on the German destroyers aren't particularly that good. Anyways, they do tend to reload fairly quickly on a lot of the German destroyers, but other than that, if you compare them to other nations, they're usually considered poor torpedoes, but we're boosting those performance. So German destroyers, as I conceive of them traditionally, are kind of middle of the road in all aspects, except for the fact that they usually have the sonar, at least at higher tiers. But everything else is kind of non-standoutish, okay, not extraordinary, would be a good way to put it. And this is just kind of leaning it a little bit more forward towards the torpedo performance. All right, so jumping in this game here, we do have a capture the base mode game. Now you can see we're off to a great start here, up 4 ships. We're attacking the Chung King, take him down. Aggressive position here. But what we need to point out in this game is base defense. Usually when I cover capture the base modes games, more often than not, we're going to touch on this topic. This is how you change your win rate dramatically on capture the base mode. Capture the base mode is more geared towards the default mindset of team deathmatch, right? More games that are capture the base mode are going to end by all ships sinking than domination mode games, which more of them end in score compared to this game mode. All right, so how we want to use that is a little bit different, though. We need to ensure when playing capture the base mode that someone, preferably multiple ships in most instances, are with an eye to base defense. Okay, so you can see here we got a Fubuki. He is attacking the carrier, and you can say, foolish play, he should be on the base. But the thing is, at this point in time, when they're down 5 ships, they have to capture the base, right? So they're counting on us not defending the base. And in order for the Fubuki to capture the base, he actually does have to sink the carrier. So whether he's singularly focused on sinking the carrier anyways, or if he's thinking about it strategically and he's come to the conclusion that sinking the carrier is an essential step in a long shot win, I would agree with the play here, even though usually I would criticize destroyers targeting backline ships. All right, carriers always have a weird calculus in terms of how valuable of a target they are at any given time based on the situation, right, and based on the background score. So here, their essential win condition is capture the base. Very hard to capture a base for 3 minutes when a carrier is alive, unless he's a complete bozo and he's not focused on defending the base. He's just bombing whatever he's been bombing for the last 10 minutes. So in that case, you might get lucky. All right, so we've removed the Fubuki there with good teamwork. The carrier does go down, as does the Nevada here. And at this point in time, I'm like, okay, this is in wrap-up mode. I missed the destroyer who got this far on the map throughout the game, but I didn't miss this one. I saw him oriented towards north, and I'm thinking, okay, he's not likely to be attacking the base. But again, that's their only way they could possibly win. We don't want to lose games where, mathematically they should not be losable. But what I'm ignoring here, I think I was reading a paragraph in a news article for 10 seconds. Twisted track. Come on now, this is Destroyer 101. We got the perk that shows the approximate position of the closest ship, that little half moon white thing that's floating above our ship. Kind of obscured by the skyline a little bit at the moment, but that's showing us the approximate position of the closest ship. Of course, that swung wildly to the west as soon as we killed the Nevada, who was at that point in time the more close proximity ship to us. So a little asleep at the switch here, a little bit too blasé. Again, capture the base mode affords you the opportunity to get the most frustrating feeling in World of Warships Legends, and believe me, this game offers that opportunity with great aplomb. But what you don't ever want to do is lose a game where you're up 3, 4, 5, 6. In this case, we would be up 8 ships. If I can count, probably not. 7 or 8 ships, whatever it is. Looks like 7 now that I do some basic math. But he could do it, right? If me and the cruiser, who's now turned around again, if this guy sinks the one guy who's going back to defend, then it comes down to, well, what's our team doing? We had 2 destroyers ignoring the base. They got the carrier. Now we got a guy on the base. So at this point in time, as long as one of them doesn't get off the base, we're on there first. Of course, we'll capture it first. But you do not want to ignore base defense, all right? Once you have the knowledge that you need to defend the base, you need to also have the knowledge that most of the people on your team either don't care or they don't understand the importance. They haven't gone through the humiliating process enough of losing these blowout games, all right? So learn the lesson as early as you can. You'll preserve your win rate in capture the base mode, and you'll do quite well for yourself. A little bit of a tip here. When we're fighting destroyers like this, you see how I turn 90 degrees the other way. And he even misses the... He going there. He misses the launch there. It's a confusing play, and of course they're going to be trying to aim on the indicator. So make those turns. Go the opposite way. You'll live longer. That's it for the T61. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.